especially for these kind of startup founders, how do you explain that their business itself is an ecosystem? Because I think a lot of times we are missing that framing, and that's why we get the pushback about, oh, I need to get my business to a certain point, not realizing that every decision that your business makes and every choice that you're making are actually opportunities to live out your values in practice, that you don't have to, wait until you get to a place where you can do a big, fancy, shiny thing, that it's about those thinking about all of the stakeholders that are attached to your business and that entire ecosystem and how they're impacted by those day-to-day choices.
Rachel, I think you're stumping me on this one because this is one where I really, I feel really fortunate in my career in that many of my clients, they've already kind of realized, they've come to that realization. And so I'm really fortunate that I'm working with folks who are like, help me be more of an ecosystem. I already realized that it is that way. It is the case. But I love this question. It's going to sit with me because getting more people into that awareness of how we are interconnected as opposed to individual entities, I want to point to more systemic problems with our economic system, which is like the myth of meritocracy or the myth of individualism. I think those concepts are just so pervasive and so reinforced in our culture.
Very much so.
This is a hard one for me of like how to affect that culture shift or those like realization points.
Yeah, it does make me wonder, as you kind of shared that, where the clients that you're working with, because and that makes sense because people seek out lift economy once they've already kind of had that realization and they need support to do the work, and wondering what is causing those shifts, because that's one of the reasons that we, started the podcast, is to just broaden awareness. Because I would sometimes go and, do a workshop or a speaking engagement or something, and people would, I'd say, and you can use your business, as a tool for change in X, Y, or Z way. And people would say, is that possible? Like, how does that actually work? I've never heard of this before. I've never seen this before. And so I realized that that is part of the work, is just creating awareness, because people can't dream or aspire of a world that not everyone, but a lot of people can't dream or aspire of something that they've never heard about.
I'm paying a lot of attention to sort of like disaster scholars like Rebecca Solnit and Naomi Klein. And then we're going to have one on our podcast. We just interviewed Feroz Khan, who are looking at how disaster or catastrophe can catalyze culture shift. So, if there's one thing we can be assured of, is that we are going to see increasing numbers of disasters and catastrophes due to just the political and societal and ecological upset that we're living through.
Absolutely.
So I'm hopeful that those can catalyze some consciousness shifts, and hopefully with the minimal amount of human harm.
Yeah, and I think that you are right. I actually pulled out Naomi Klein's The Shock Doctrine out a few days ago, because I thought I was due for a reread, especially with this current administration, because it is, while there are so many things that are alarming that are happening on a daily basis, it is really grounding to see some of the offshoots of hope and the catalyst for change, and how some economies were able to radically redevelop in the face of these types of catastrophes and coming to the brink in a way that created greater wealth distribution and more autonomy, and these things that we, in many ways, I think a lot of Americans in particular have given up hope that these are things that we can actually accomplish.